Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on BJPenn.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton, episode 27 ahead of UFC 258. We got a really good lineup for you. First up, we're joined by the future Maycee Barber to preview her UFC 258 co-main event against Alexa Grasso. This is a really intriguing matchup, a fight I'm really surprised that they booked. Grasso and Barber, two of the up-and-coming prospects at flyweight. That division needs not a lot of new blood, so I'm kind of shocked they are just killing one off this early, but this is a big fight. Maycee Barber coming off the loss to Roxanne Modafferi last January, that tore ACL. It's been over a year. Like, she kind of is looking to make a statement in this fight where she's trying to remind everyone just how good she is and how she's going to be the future of the UFC. But this is a big fight for Maycee Barber. If she loses this 2-fight losing streak, a lot of her hype's gone. Like, this is a big fight for Barber in a co-main event of pay-per-view spot. They obviously still believe she's a big star, so really looking forward to this fight and a good chat with Maycee to preview that fight. We're then joined by Ian Heinisch to preview his fight against Kelvin Gastelum. This is a big spot for Ian Heinisch. This guy was supposed to go out there, fight Brendan Allen. Heinisch gets out of the fight. Then all of a sudden now he's fighting a top 10 guy and a former title challenger in Kelvin Gastelum. Ian knows this is a big spot for him. He had the big step up against Derek Brunson. He faltered. He said that loss was actually really important for him because now he knows what it takes to get to that top level. He expects his wrestling and striking to be a big difference and be able to just outmuscle Kelvin Gastelum in this fight. We're then joined by Jim Miller, who to preview his short notice fight against Bobby Green, got announced on about a week's notice. Jim Miller said he had a bit more notice than that, but he was begging Sean Shelby to get a fight, and he actually thought he might have been one of those 60 fighters cut because the UFC weren't getting back to him, but he ends up getting that short notice fight. And Jim Miller is going to pass Donald Cerrone for the most UFC appearances. Later on in May, Cerrone's going to pass him, and they just keep going back and forth. But Jim Miller kind of holding out for 40 UFC fights, and something he really interested in doing is holding out till UFC 300, which is about 2.5 years from now. He fought on UFC 100, 200. He thinks that'd be cool if his final retirement fight is on UFC 300. So definitely something cool if it happens. We're then joined by Julian Marquez to preview his fight against Maki Pitolo. This is opening up the main card, and this is fight of the night or performance of the night written all over it. I don't expect this fight to last long. These are two strikers who throw with a lot of heat, fight-ending punches every single time they throw. Marquez returning after a bad injury, and he was supposed to fight in November. His opponent missed weight or had a failed weight cut and didn't get to go. So he's really looking forward to this fight against Maki Pitolo. He thinks this is a fight where he wins this one in good fashion on a pay-per-view main card. He could make a statement, get a top 15 guy or get someone just outside the rankings. We're then joined by Gillian Robertson to preview her fight against Miranda Maverick. This is another fight I'm really surprised at women's flyweight. Both Robertson and Maverick, up-and-coming prospects. Robertson coming off the loss to Talia Santos, making a quick turnaround. Miranda Maverick made a good in her UFC debut. Really intriguing matchup between two high-level grapplers. Like, if this fight hits the ground, it should be pure entertainment for grappling fans because these two are some of the best it gets at women's flyweight. But we close out the show talking to Anthony Hernandez to preview his fight against Rodolfo Vieira. So talk about grapplers. Rodolfo Vieira, one of the best in the UFC. Anthony Hernandez knows he has his hands full, but he knows his wrestling, as long as he keeps fight standing, it is his fight to lose. He knows he's so much better on the feet. He wasn't too impressed with Vieira's striking in his debut. That fight was almost called because Vieira's eye swelled up. He said if he can do that, like, this fight's over. It's basically stuff that takedown, and he's going to knock this guy out. But really good chat with Anthony to talk about his fight. But thank you all for listening again. Be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode. All right, we're joined by UFC flyweight Maycee Barber, who's returning. Maycee, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Obviously, coming up here in a week, like, what's it like to finally be able to get back in there?
I'm excited. It's been a long journey back. You know, it's been a lot of ups and downs with the recovery, and I switched camps, so it's just been a lot of back and forth. But I'm ready, and I've never felt better, so I'm really excited.
And Alexa Grasso, like, I was surprised this was your opponent just because you guys are two of the up-and-comers. Are you surprised this is who you're fighting?
I think a lot of people were surprised just because she's tough and we both are up-and-comers. But I'm not surprised. You know, I've never turned down a fight. So if they offer me someone, obviously the UFC has a plan. So you kind of got to stick with the plan and go with it. And I think it's a great fight because there's a lot of she has a lot of followers behind her. I have a lot of followers behind me. So it's a great fight, and I'm excited for it.
Do you still have that counter on your phone for the youngest UFC champ?
I actually don't. I have to restart it because I got a different phone. I smashed my other phone, and then I switched actually from Android to Apple. So
what is it, the end of this year or sometime next year?
Yeah, I'm 22 right now. So I turned 23 in May. And then from the time that I turn 23, I'll have 8 more months.
So it's definitely doable then, especially with flyweight. You get a win over Grosso, fight a top 10 person, or even a top 5, and you'd be fighting for the belt like either this time next year.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the plan. I even talked with coaches about it. Sorry. The plan is to fight Grosso, get the win, and then fight. We just watched Joanne Calderwood versus Jessica Ai, and that fight I felt as though I want the winner of the two of those girls because those are both girls that I can beat. And they're ranked. I think they're like 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Still fight Alexa, get the win, fight them. One of them, obviously, Joanne Calderwood, fight her, get the win, and then go for a title shot.
And this is gonna be your first time fighting with like in the pandemic, no crowd, but obviously you have the Contender Series background. Like, I think that's gonna be a big help where you've already fought at the Apex. You know what fighting in front of no one is like.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be very similar to the Contender Series. You know, when we did fight in the Contender Series, you didn't have a walkout song, you didn't have a crowd, you didn't have hardly anybody there except for your corner. And the only thing that's different is the family part. You know, like you don't in the Contender Series, you got to bring your family with you, like to have them as like the spectators. And for this, there's no spectators at all. So I think that's the only difference. But I mean, a lot of things in this career for me have been new things, you know, like from fighting in my first time, my debut, and then my first fight on TV, and then the Contender Series, and then my UFC debut. Like everything has been different in a way. So this is a new different, and it'll be more stories.
Yeah, and first time on a pay-per-view main card as well. Or did you open the McGregor one? Or you were the final prelim?
I think I was the main.
Yeah, on the ESPN going into the pay-per-view.
And from what I've seen on the card, I think I originally was the third fight from the main event. So it was Burns and Usman, and then it was Weidman versus Uriah Hall, and then it was me and Alexa. And from what I've heard, the Weidman fight fell through.
Yep.
So I don't know what they're gonna do with that, but I'm assuming we're bumped up.
Are you looking forward to being on the pay-per-view part of it finally? Because it seems like every progression, like you had the Contender Series, the free TV, then the main card. Now you're on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's to me. I mean, it's just a fight. Like I'm gonna go out and perform no matter where on the card I am. So it doesn't really matter a lot, but I'm super excited to be on a pay-per-view for sure.
And Alexa Grasso was like, I think it's very similar to you. She was fought a strawweight, and then she decided to move up. Her last fight was her flyweight debut. Like, what do you make of her last fight? Because obviously Kim wasn't someone anywhere really near the rankings.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us females you're gonna see move up, just because as a female it's different with your whole body is different, and weight cutting is not easy for us. It's never been easy for any girl to cut weight. It's not easy for guys to cut weight either, but girls, we have a lot of different things to put into play and to deal with, you know, extra water holding and all that fun stuff. So as far as her moving up, I think you're going to see that in a lot of us girls. And her last fight, yeah, it was a good fight. And same thing, you know, that's a debut. So you're not going to expect her to be fighting a top 5, top 10 ranked opponent in the 125 division. That's her debut in that division. So, yeah. And
at strawweight, she kind of struggled with the wrestlers. Like, is that a big part of your game plan as wrestling, or do you think this fight's just going to take place on the feet?
She's a striker, you know, and she doesn't have that wrestling background necessarily. So, and at 115, if she was cutting that hard, her body's tired. So yes, she's going to struggle against wrestling. Tatiana Suarez dominant on the ground, and that's what I plan to do as well. So depending on where the fight goes, we'll see.
And you're someone that always gets the finish. Like, do you think this is another fight set up for you to get that stoppage win?
Always would be perfect. I don't always get the finish. I would love to say that. That's always the plan. Obviously my last fight didn't go that way, but yeah, the plan is to go out there and work for a finish.
You're the betting underdog in this fight. I think that's pretty surprising. Does that surprise you?
I don't know if it surprises me. I mean, maybe a little bit. I don't expect to be the underdog, but at the same time, it's like that's lower expectations from people because, you know, my last fight, it was not a good. It didn't look great from a lot of people on the outside looking in. You know, I had a really bad injury, and whether people could see that or not, or you know, it's hard for them to view it as she was hurt and that's why she finished. You know, underdog or not, I'm still gonna go out there and finish.
Do you have like a chip on your shoulder heading in this fight? Because I'm sure you've probably seen it where it seems like a lot of people want to see you lose. It's the same thing with like Sean O'Malley, same thing with Edmund Shabazi, and like these young up and comers that say they're going to be the next champion. It seems like all the fans want to knock them down a notch.
No, I don't have a chip on my shoulder because even if they want to see me lose, they still want to see me. So
Yeah.
that doesn't matter to me. Whether you want to watch me win or watch me lose, you're still watching. So.
And the UFC Apex is a smaller octagon. Do you think that's a big benefit to you? Just be able to close the distance quicker if the game plan is to get her down?
Yeah, I mean, it could be an advantage. We've been training every single training session since I started camp for the last 12 weeks has been in a cage that is the exact same size. So that's been helpful. That's been a blessing in this camp, but we'll see.
Is the goal to be pretty active this year, especially just having that one fight last year?
Yes. That is the goal. That's the plan. I hate not being able to fight consistently. And last year, I learned a lot, so I would never take it back and say that I wish I had 4 fights in the last year because I learned so much about myself, and just training, recovering, overcoming different obstacles. I feel like I learned a lot. So this time, yes, this year I would like to be very active, and get a lot of wins, get a lot of money.
Like, what's the ideal? Like 3-4 fights then this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I'm ranked number 10. So once you get in the rankings, I feel like the UFC, it'll probably be a little bit difficult because they'll have a certain way that they want it to go. But yeah, 3-4 fights would be perfect. You know, fight this one, fight to get in the top 5, and then fight for the title. So that'd be 3 this year.
What's your like thoughts on the flyweight division? Because obviously it is one of the weaker ones at the women, but it is getting a lot stronger. Like you have Jessica Andrade that moved up, who's probably fighting for the belt. You move up. You had Alexa Grasso move up. Like it is getting a lot deeper.
It is. Like I said, you're going to see a lot of females move up from 115 to 125. You know, it wasn't just me, Alexa, and Andrade. It was also Cynthia Cavillo, and she's tough too. It is. It's getting stronger, but at the same time, it's a lot of the older fighters as well. So the more that we get the younger fighters, the more you're going to see it, you know, become a stronger division. You know, you have to have the newer era of fighters come in, and I feel like it's getting there.
Just a few more things. Obviously, Valentina Shevchenko is the champion. Everyone considers her this like dominant champion. Like, does part of you hope she still is the champion by the time you get up there? So it adds more if you beat her for the belt rather than a different girl.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I have no control over her career. It would be great to be able to fight her because she's the most dominant, and I truly believe that she's someone I can beat. However, that's not for me to choose. You know, Valentina has done a lot of great things in her career, and we don't know what her plans are, what her goals are, what her, you know, her career and her life looks like. Fighting isn't forever. So if it comes to being her end and I'm not there yet, then that's just what happens. But I don't see her retiring in the next year, so I think we're okay.
Do you think you're gonna have to change the nickname pretty soon? It's the future. It could be the present pretty soon.
I didn't pick the future, so I think if someday it changes and other people choose something else, then it may change, it may not. You never know. I feel like the future, it fits because it is. I'm up and coming. It's I feel like it has a lot of different things that it could mean. You know, there's always something new, something more, another opportunity. And it's not just like a nickname to me. It's kind of something that like I look forward to. It's like you look forward to the future. You know, you look at your goals and your plans, and so it kind of reminds me too. Is like there is a future, and it's to remind me of like remember to think about it.
Is there a bit of pressure on you to win this one? Obviously, every fight's important, but just kind of remind everyone how good you are, get back into the win column, and get everything on track again.
There's no pressure because it's gonna happen. So, yeah.
And what's it like? Because I know you switched camps and you went out to Chicago. So how's that been?
It's been great. That was a decision that I made. I wanted to be around a lot more girls for training partners and smaller people. And it just fit. I talked to everybody that I was training with up here in Milwaukee. And we just had I kind of told them I felt like that was the right thing for me, and they were supportive of it. And so I have a great connection with everybody. But Mike Valley has been who I'm working with right now for the striking, and then Izzy Martinez for wrestling. And it has been good. I've known Izzy for a long time, and I just recently met Mike around the time that I had my surgery for my leg. But I mean, it's been really good. They work really well together, and it's been a strong camp. And all the guys and girls at Valley Flow Striking, it's kind of become like a family. They kind of welcome me in, so it's been really cool.
Is it going to be a bit weird hearing different voices in the corner? Because you had this same corner for quite a while.
Actually,
Or I guess you had Mark and then you had Duke.
I've bounced around a lot. I went from Colorado to Milwaukee, and now I'm here. But I've actually had Izzy in my corner twice now. So he's been in my corner for 2 fights. So you're never going to not hear Izzy's voice. He's got that very distinct voice that everybody can pick out of the room. And he's loud. So that one I know for sure I won't have a problem hearing. And then for Mike, I mean, he's been ever since I started my camp and training with him, the whole thing has been me in the cage training, and me listening to his voice and making sure that I'm in tune. And that's something that I don't necessarily need to hear them either. Like, we have trained so hard, and we have done every situation, every scenario, everything. And we have created the instincts and the right moves that when I go out there, it's not me needing to hear them, because if I need to hear them, then I don't know what I'm doing. So I feel like we've put in the work and we put in the time that I shouldn't have to be listening to hear if I can hear them, because what if I really can't? Then I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
So my instincts will kick in, and I know everything I need to do out there. And we've prepared for every possible situation.
And just last thing, obviously your brother is signed to Bellator. When he fights, do you get more nervous for him or yourself fighting?
Well, he made his debut and he just got signed. Yeah. So he hasn't fought yet since this is crazy, but since he made his amateur debut, because COVID hit. But yes, when I was in the corner, I remember for his debut, I was like screaming, but at the same time, I wasn't saying I was not saying the wrong things, but I don't think I was saying anything helpful. But yeah, I definitely get nervous. And then when he won, I was like screaming and crying. And I get nervous for him, but not in like a bad way. Like, there's nothing like going in there and being with your family when they go to fight. It's just a different kind of energy. But we've worked really hard to get where we are, and I know that there's no way that I'm going to not let him prepare for his fight. So, because I can't go in there nervous. So he's going to put in the work, and he'll be ready when his debut comes.
All right, well, Maycee, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate your time as well. Glad we could finally get this done.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're joined by UFC middleweight Ian Heinisch, who's got a big fight coming up. Ian, how's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Obviously, fighting the 8th-ranked guy in the world in Kelvin Gastelum. You're supposed to fight Brendan Allen twice. Like, after that second fight fell out, did you ever think Gastelum would be your next opponent?
Yeah, I figured, a big opportunity was going to arise. Just looking at the top 15 middleweights, Kevin Holland making the big jump, Marvin Vettori, the division's getting shook up, and the young guys that are ready are getting these opportunities. And so I just knew it was a matter of time. And, I came off a big win off Mearshart and was going to take out his teammate. And and I figured that would be my time. And obviously that fight didn't work out, and now I got the opportunity, so I can't complain.
And you look at Kelvin Gastelum, 3-fight losing streak, but he lost to Israel Adesanya, Darren Till, Jack Hermanson, or some of the top middleweights. So what do you kind of make of the skid he's on?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that makes him a very dangerous fighter. I expect to fight the best Kevin Gastelum, and it just makes him hungry. And his back's against the wall. When your back's against the wall, you fight for your life. So that's what I expect out of him. And I believe it's my time though now. And unfortunately, someone that I've followed his career very closely my whole coming up in the game, and unfortunately, I might have to be the guy to take him out. But it is what it is. It's business, and so I expect a mean, hungry Kevin Gastelum.
You had a shot at that top 10 in Derek Brunson at 241. Obviously didn't go your way. How big do you think that loss is going to be, just that learning experience, what it takes to get to that top 10?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was my third fight in the UFC, and I'm fighting Derek Brunson, who's fought the who's who. And, I mean, I learned a lot. That was a huge learning curve. And being on such a big card and just, almost knocking him out. And just, I learned a lot, man. Just so many things I could take away from that fight. And, I feel like I'm a new fighter. I'm way more comfortable in there now. And, I've overcame some lessons. And now I feel like I'm, the Hurricane 3.0 and a guy who's ready to fight and be a contender for that title real soon.
Kelvin Gastelum is one of the smaller middleweights, like height size. So how do you think that's a play factor? Because you are a bit taller than him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to fighting guys that are taller, but I've got a lot of training partners that are a little bit shorter than me. So, I mean, I believe it. It's just a different style. You just got to adapt to it, and you can use it to your advantage. So, I don't think that'll play too big of a part in it. I feel like taller guys are a little bit harder to get into, and so I don't feel like that challenge will be there.
And your wrestling and cardio, how big do you think that's going to be? Because no one really out cardios you, and we've seen Gastelum have some trouble against some wrestlers.
Yeah, the cardio is going to be a huge factor to it. I'm going to make it a grinding pace. My whole goal is step in there and put on that pace that he doesn't like. Because if I let him get his pace, it could be a dangerous fight for me. But I feel like I go in there, I put my pace on him, I make it really uncomfortable for him, and I can drag him in deep waters if need be.
You have a ton of knock power. Do you think but Gastelum is very durable. Like, he took all the shots from Adesanya, took all the shots from Darren Till. Do you think this is a fight that you think probably is going to head to the distance?
No, I think I still got that right hand power. I think it's a power that is superior to those guys. Those other guys have great volume and stuff. I know Gastelum's taking a lot of damage, but if I hit him on the right spot, anyone can go out. And I also believe my submission game is going to be a factor as well. People haven't really got to see that, and have been working really hard on that. So I believe that'll be a factor. I believe there will be a finish with me getting my hand raised.
You've done a bit of training at Genesis for this camp, right?
Correct.
Is that a full-time move over there, or are you still doing some work out Factory X?
No, I left Factory X about a year ago and went to Tiger Muay Thai. Then I was going to move to Thailand. Then COVID hit. Then I went to Extreme Couture. Trained at Genesis before that, and with Team Elevation, and just found a good home. Found good coaches. Have great training partners, and I'm really liking the program and thing we got going at Genesis, and cross training with Peter Straub at Team Elevation. It's a good match right now. Right now, it's really working out, and we'll see what the future has to hold. But right now, I'm very happy with the coaching and the training partners.
So who is going to be in your corner then for this fight?
Jacob Ramos is my head coach. He's from Genesis Fight Team. He's the head coach there. And then Peter Straub, my jiu-jitsu coach and ground game coach from Team Elevation. And then actually I'm going to have my dad in my corner for the first time. So I'm excited for that too.
What's that going to be like, having your dad in your corner?
Oh, it's huge, man. I feel honored that he gets to do this. I've been kind of putting it off for a little while, and no better time than the present. And I know he's super excited. He's been coming to all my practices, watching, and it's going to be a very special thing to share that with my dad.
And still out in elevation in Denver. So how big do you think that is, just in helping to improve the cardio? Because everyone that comes out of elevation seems to doesn't even get tired, really.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you the more wind. It's harder to recover, that's a fact. But at the same time, when you get adapted to that high elevation, that low air, your body just does some things that I mean, it's adapting. And then when you go down to sea level at Vegas, which Vegas isn't quite sea level, it's still like 1,000 or 2,000 feet above. But you feel like there's just more air. More air gets to your muscles, and you can go harder for longer.
And going out to Vegas, is that a big relief for you, not having to travel it all the way to Abu Dhabi?
I mean, yeah, I mean, Fight Island's kind of my style as far as traveling and fighting on an island. That's cool to me. I would love to experience it, but it didn't work out this time. And, I'm grateful to be able to have my friends and family close and being able to come out there. And so it could have went either way for me. But yeah, it's nice to have that convenience of just being a few states over.
And the smaller octagon in the Vegas, do you think that's a big advantage for you, just because it often helps the grapplers and you can be able to close that distance quicker?
I mean, yeah, it's that cage is for the dogs, the guys who like to really, I mean, they're putting fighters on top of each other. That's why you see so many knockouts there. And yeah, it helps with the grappling. It helps with just, being at range. It's not good for guys that want to dance and move around, and that's not my style. So yeah, it's an advantage, and it's nothing really too extreme for me. I train in an octagon that size, so I'm used to it.
And you're about a plus 180 underdog here. Does that surprise you that Gaslam's the favorite?
No, not at all. I love being the underdog. That's when I shine. He's fought, like I said, he's coming off losses, but look at the losses that he's taken. The caliber he's fought. He's fought everyone, and he's a legend. But when I go in there, he's not going to be a legend to me anymore. He's going to be an adversary, and I'm going to take him out and mark my name in the middleweight division.
Well, what do you think a win over Gaslam does for you? Because this was a guy that 2 years ago was set to fight Rob Whittaker for the middleweight title, fought Israel Adesanya just 3 fights ago for the interim belt. Like, obviously, the UFC rates him pretty highly, so win would do pretty well for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially winning in spectacular fashion with a knockout or a submission. It puts me right in the mix. It puts me where I've worked so hard to be, and I'm excited to be an active fighter this year. Last year, you only got to see a minute 15 seconds of an improved Hurricane 2.0, and this year, I truly believe the Hurricane 3.0 is coming out, and I'm excited to showcase all the new skills. I've learned so much. I've grown, and I'm gonna make waves in this middleweight division.
Well, that's actually what I want to touch on. Was only one fight last year. You had 2 fights canceled. So how frustrating was that? Just because you obviously had that massive finish, then you couldn't really capitalize on all the momentum you had.
Yeah, sometimes it's just God saying sit down, time to grow in certain areas. There's things that are just out of your control, and that was out of my control. So I focused on what I could control, and that's growing and getting better every day. And I've improved so much, and I'm ready to get a big win over Gaslam and ride that momentum and continue to stay super active this year.
Realistically, like, where do you see yourself at the end of this year? Because win over Gaslam puts you in the top 10. That means you could probably get a top 5 guy next. Like, you could easily be the top or second ranked contender at the end of the year.
Yeah, for me, my goal is, to get four wins this year, and to be in that title contention talk and be in the top 5 and really just prove myself. I feel like I need to continue to just prove myself, beat these guys, beat the up and comers, beat the old guys that have been here for a while, and just make myself undeniable where people know my name. So that's my goal.
Oh, obviously, the middleweight champion is Israel Adesanya. He's moving up in weight. Like, how do you kind of see that middleweight division? Because normally when the champion isn't fighting, it kind of keeps that top stagnant because they're all just waiting on him.
Yeah, I mean, if I was the top 5 right now, ready to fight for the title, it would be very frustrating. But for me, I got a ways to go. I'm gonna be fighting on all the guys right below that tier, and and for me, so it's fine. But I want to see him keep winning because I want to seal my legacy with being the first guy to beat Israel. And I feel like I got a good game plan for that. And so, I mean, he's doing his thing. He's doing what he's got to do. He's making, big money, getting big fights. So hats off to him. But I hope when it's my time to be in the contender spot, he's there and ready to fight. And I believe it'll all line up in God's plan.
Is there a bit of hope for you that Adesanya beats Blachowicz? Because I talked to Marvin Vettori and he said the same thing because he wants to be that guy to take his O. Like he doesn't want anyone else to do that. So are you kind of rooting for him to become that champion? So then if you get the chance to beat him, it only adds more to your win?
Absolutely. That's gonna seal legacy. You want to be the guy to beat that guy that everyone's looking at, the undefeated guy that people are even have him in conversations of being the GOAT. And if you beat him, then you get in that conversation. So absolutely, I hope he keeps winning.
If you beat Gaslam, it puts you in a good spot. Do we expect any call-outs from you? Because normally it's everyone calling you out lately.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be calling out who's ever available in that top area, whether it's Cannonier, Till, Vittori. I mean, we'll see. I got to kind of sit down with my management and see who's available. You don't want to shoot your shot at someone who is not available or is already scheduled for a fight. So, just tune in, UFC 258, and you'll see.
And being on this pay-per-view card, like, what do you think that's going to do for your career? Because there's obviously going to be a lot of eyes on this one.
Yeah, I feel like I've been on like 3 or 4 pay-per-views in a row, big ones, and yeah, it's just more eyes on me. It's a bigger platform, and I get to showcase my skills, and more eyes are going to be watching. So I'm excited. It puts that chip on my shoulder to go out there and really perform and really let people know who I am.
And you mentioned it to DC last time. Is how frustrating has it been? Every time you get a finish, it's happening in front of no one.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be the way it is, but it's cool because I've learned a lot about having the no crowd, letting the fans affect your emotions. I thought a lot more methodical. Like when I dropped Bronson, I literally held my breath and just was like red in my eyes, like let's get the finish. And as of when I dropped Meerschaert, I was like, okay, remember this guy's known for taking a beating and catching a sub. Let's be methodical, and like everything kind of slowed down for me, and I technically found the finish without putting myself in trouble or exerting too much of an adrenaline dump. And so I feel like I've grown a lot. And all these new guys coming in, all these people who just got signed, wait till they walk out with 25,000 fans and screaming in a crowd. It's going to be such a different world for them. And I believe they're going to get shook like a debut fight. And I feel like I'll be ready, mentally ready for the crowd, no crowd. And I feel like I'm starting to slip in that veteran category where I have that mindset.
And just last thing, obviously, Kelvin Gastelum, he's kind of known for that right hand. Is that part of the game plan, just avoid that right hand? You think he didn't have a lot of success?
Avoid the right, avoid the left. Yeah, I mean, he's got bombs in his hand. He's a little one-dimensional, but yeah, obviously, we don't want to get hit with power. We gotta move our head. We gotta not let him counter. He's kind of a counter. Most southpaws are counter strikers. So, we got a great game plan. You're going to see it all in a few weeks.
All right. Well, Ian, thank you so much for the time again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Cole.
All right. We're joined by UFC lightweight Jim Miller, who's making a short notice fight next weekend at UFC 258. Jim, how's it going?
It's going good.
Obviously, fighting Bobby Green, like this came out, we're recording on February 1st. You're fighting the 13th, so 12 days. When did you find out about this fight?
I found out that I had a slot, I don't know, like maybe 2 weeks ago. And I didn't have an opponent. I'd been asking to fight since about September, and just hadn't heard anything back. And then you kind of get a little bit nervous because you know that they're cutting a bunch of fighters. So I was like, well, are they holding off to see what they're going to do? Yeah, like I found out, just about 2 weeks ago or a week ago, something like that I had the slot, and then just the other day found out that I had Bobby.
So it's been about a month then by the time start to finish of training, but only about a week and a bit for training specifically for Bobby Green.
About 3 weeks. it'll be about like 3 weeks for like a fight date, because initially too, Sean made a mistake and he put the wrong date when he said he had a slot for me. So, like I said, I had been training, getting into it before that and trying to kind of ramp things up because I had a feeling that it would be another abbreviated camp just with the way that things were going. I don't have I don't work with a manager anymore, so it's me pestering Sean. So I know exactly what's happening and the conversation that's happening. So it's like, okay, there's no middleman for me to kind of blame on not getting the information to me. So it's like, okay, I see how it's going, and I know that if a slot opens up, they've thrown it at me in the past, so I just wanted to be ready.
And Bobby Green, this is a guy you're supposed to fight in 2014. So what's it like to finally be able to get in there with him?
He's a dude that's been around for a long time, and I got a lot of respect for him. It's it's one of those fights that I wish I did. I wish I did have a full camp because he does bring a unique skill set into the octagon. He's there aren't a lot of guys that fight the way that he fights. So, it's one of those things. Like I would like to prepare for it. I would like to see it a bit more. Have a few more weeks to have some of my guys kind of mimic his style. But at the end of the day, when I step into the octagon, it's about fighting my style and making him do that. So, that's really what I'm always preparing to do is to go out and fight my fight and not necessarily fight. I want to be able to deal with my opponent's strengths, but not necessarily fight to them.
And I was looking at Bobby Green's record. He's only ever been submitted twice. Like, is that kind of something you're interested in, being one of those rare fighters to submit him? Because everyone knows how good your ground game is. And Bobby Green has a very underrated ground game.
Always, I mean, it's not necessarily that he's, been submitted twice, but it's what I do. I've set up a lot of my submissions with landing strikes. So it's like I'm not the guy that's gonna necessarily go for the TKO because I have more confidence in my ability to wrap somebody's neck up once they are hurt. So if the opportunity arises, I'm not gonna throttle back on it. I'm gonna keep attacking.
How do you see this fight playing out? Because Bobby Green's a very durable guy. Like his last couple fights, he was called that king of the apex. So he was fighting every couple months, just getting decision wins. So how do you see it playing out?
A myriad of ways. Like I see myself going out and using my striking and grappling to put him away earlier. I see a knockdown, drag out, frustrating fight. I'm not the type that lets people get into my head, and he is a frustrating fighter to fight. At least that's what I've seen. So, I mean, it might be that way. It might be that kind of fight. It might get drug out to a decision. That's never what I'm going for. But I'm ability to, however the fight goes, I'm prepared for it. I've seen pretty much everything there is to offer inside the inside MMA and inside the octagon.
And your last fight against Vince Pichel obviously didn't go your way, but that was another one where you took on like a week or two notice. So how much do you take away from that fight and help you prepare for this one?
That every now and then you have something that like it's kind of that kick in the ass, right? And that one was, a pretty short one. I think it was like 10 days. And I'd been in and out of the gym leading up to it, but I felt pretty good, going into it. And, I've had much harder first rounds. I won the first round in that fight, and I remember walking back to the corner like, I'm done. I mean, like this is gonna be pretty tough to keep the lead. It was just something, whatever it was, if the extra nerves of a fight, even though I don't get, nervous and all that stuff, as you might say, but like, just the extra atmosphere of a fight, maybe that added to it. But it's like I was doing, multiple rounds. My dog was trying to come into the shot here. Stay. I was doing 10, 11 5-minute rounds, in the days leading up to it. And I barely made it through the first one. So like I ended up, getting through the fight, taking some damage again, but not more than I ever have. And then I started vomiting and and was vomiting for a solid half an hour. Ended up puking up some blood and stuff like that. So it was one of those things. It was like we need to strip things down and really start approaching this even better, right? So I've been really working with my diet, and a dietitian now, and tracking my sleep and all this stuff. So just trying to like not necessarily figure out what happened that night, but make sure that something like that doesn't happen again. Because I felt like everything was in control, and something wasn't. So that's just the way that it goes. But I like I said, I'm taking a step in the direction to make sure that those things don't happen again. And I think I'm going to come out on the better end of it.
At this stage of your career, like, what do you think a win over Bobby Green does for you? Like, are you looking to try to climb up those rankings again? Or are you just looking for these fun, like, fights against some other legends in the sport?
I'd love to. I'd love to be able to string another one together. Like I said, I feel like I'm on the right track. I've had a good couple of months since then. So yeah, I mean, if I can get some wins together, I feel like I'm always right there. But like at the same time, I'm excited to fight Bobby because he's a guy that's been around for a long time, and we almost did fight. And it gets me pumped, like that second chance to share the octagon with somebody. I mean, it's a similar feeling to when I fought Clay. Clay and I almost had an opportunity to fight back in 2011. And we could have fought throughout that whole time, and we never did. And then we got that opportunity, and it was an awesome camp and an awesome experience, fighting. I just, fighting a guy that I'm a fan of, and I'm a fan of Bobby's, and I'm just excited for the fight. But yeah, like my goals are to win, to fight at my best, to perform at my best, to show myself and the fans what I'm capable of. There's 15 minutes is never enough. It seems like, and 3 times a year is never enough. So I want to go out and I want to perform, and I want to show off the skill set that I've developed over the last 15 years. There are definitely things in the toolbox that I haven't gotten to show. And so fight the best guys I can fight. The point for me right now is 40 fights in the UFC. That's kind of where I move that little push pin. That's where I want to get to. And we'll see what the future has for me once I get there.
Well, something you mentioned earlier that I wanted to touch on was you were talking about how with the UFC cutting 60 fighters and Sean not answering. Like, was that a serious thought that maybe they were going to cut you? Or like, is this even a thought that if you lose this one, like maybe that might be it? I could never see the UFC cutting you though.
Who knows? It's just that's the climate we're in right now as fighters. You just honestly don't know. So, I would hope that they wouldn't just drag it out. Like if they were gonna cut me during that time, just do it, right? Like don't like wait and shelf me for a bit to then do it. Fortunately I got this fight, and that's we're we're full, full steam ahead on it.
Are you hoping that at least for the 40th UFC fight or your retirement fight that we go back to having sold out arenas? Because I feel for people like Daniel Cormier and those guys that retired in front of no one, because they all deserve, especially you deserve like a full send off in front of everyone.
Yeah. I kind of need it. There's, because I've thought about it and I've been super close. I mean, in 2016, I was super close to retiring, and I feel like when I figured out I had Lyme and kind of got things back on track, it gave me like a kind of a little bit of a rebirth, in the sport and in my career, and but I've been able to think about it, and I think that as a father and a provider, the mature thing to do is to think about the next step. So I've always been thinking about it, and 4 fights is still, you got this next one will be 37. So there's another 3 fights that we got to get. And like I said, we'll see where I'm at when that happens. If that gets stretched out longer than I'd like it, then maybe we'll get pretty close to UFC 300, and that would be a hell of a send off to be able to fight on 100, 200, and 300. But yeah, I need the fans there to do it. It's one of those things. Like I don't fight because of the feeling you get when the fans are going bonkers. But man, it's a rush. I mean, the hair on my back of my neck is standing up right now just thinking about it, and wishing that it would be back to that. But yeah, it's tough. I think it's tough for these guys that have had to call it quits, without the fans there. It's a different atmosphere. It's just not the same.
And 37 UFC fights, you're taking over the record here with Cowboy. Like, do you just basically feel like you two for the next couple of years is going to keep alternating who has the record?
Yeah. I mean, it's probably the way it's going to be. If they let me fight as often as I want to fight, I'd be at 40 already. This is a couple times where they've kind of just held off on giving me a fight for a few months. But yeah, that dude's gonna be fighting until he's like 60. So I don't think that I'm gonna outlast him.
I was just doing some quick math here. I think UFC 300 would be about 3.5, 4 years. So it's definitely doable to get it done.
Yeah, it's that's the way that I'm looking at it too, because they probably lining up to be that middle of the summer card like they've done. So it's a little ways away, but like I said, we'll see how things are going. Hopefully I'm on the right track with some of the changes I've made, and yeah, if I can make it, I'll make it.
Well, yeah, because they do like 12 or 13 pay-per-views, and 270 I counted was January of next year. So then 12, 13 after that. Like you'd be about 39, 40, but it's definitely doable. I don't think anyone else would ever be able to fight on like 300s in a row on pay-per-views.
It would be pretty awesome. That would definitely be a feather in the cap.
And just last thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if you know this, but I was just looking at it. You need 8 minutes and 17 seconds of cage time here, and you have 5 hours and 30 minutes in the octagon. Like, what's that mean for you? Like, you have 5 hours and 30 minutes of fighting in there.
That means I haven't finished enough, guys. Yeah, that's a long time, man. In the grand scheme of things, it's not, but yeah, it's quite a while to be in there, because it's definitely unforgiving. Every minute of it is pretty unforgiving. So, yeah, that's not one of those things that I think is a feather that goes in the cap.
Yeah. Well, Frankie Edgar's he's almost closing on 8 hours. He needs
it's crazy.
19 more minutes for 8 hours.
Yeah.
All right, well, Jim, thank you so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're joined by UFC middleweight Julian Marquez, who's got another fight booked here. Julian, how's it going?
It's good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Obviously, before we get into your new fight, just talk about that last one briefly. Returning, like obviously everything you went through with the injuries, how frustrating or disappointing was it when you found out your opponent had that botched weight cut and you weren't going to be fighting after all that?
Man, in all honesty, it didn't bug me. This is the thing. Look, when my time happens, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen fast. And the thing is that I started, finally getting released to fight and being able to get back into the gym full time this year, 2020, or last year, 2020. And honestly, the pandemic hit right after. There was not a lot of stuff to go. I was super fat, super huge. So the first fight camp that I had for Saparov was really getting my weight down. The second one was maintaining the weight and just getting more and more cardio and getting more of an athlete. And now that's two camps that I got into to really just bring myself back to where I need to be. And then now I've just been excelling. So in all honesty, it's a blessing because it allows me to grow even more as a MMA and mixed martial artist.
And now returning on 258 against Maycee Barber, was this someone you had your eye on, or was this kind of who the UFC offered you?
I actually have been looking for a lot of different people. I have a list of stuff, and I sat down and talked with James Krause, my coach. We sat there and we were looking for different opponents. We were like, all right, how do we want to do this? And then we brought up Maycee and sent it over to Iridium, Jason House, and sent it in, and they're like, yeah, we love this matchup. Look, it's Coconut Bombs versus the Cuban Missile Crisis, 258 pay-per-view. We need some action. We need some live people. We got two heavy hitters on the card that's going to bring that pack a punch. So let's put them on there.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, like obviously he's known for his knockout power. You have a ton of knockout power as well, but your ground game is a bit underrated. Do you think that's a big advantage for you in this fight? Is your grappling?
Man, the thing is that I have an advantage in every situation. Look, I think Makee's great, but I'm just way more fast than him, way more powerful than him, way more fighter IQ than him. My striking is put together a lot more polished, and my durability is better. If I want to take it to the ground, I'll take it to the ground. He's going to struggle in any situation that we're in. So you name it, and I can take him there, and it would be in my advantage.
Is there a bit of pressure on you to have like a statement win and get a finish, just to remind everyone like how good you are and remind everyone you're still in threat in this division?
Nah, not at all. Because the thing is that like, let them forget. This is the problem with, the way that MMA is to this date is that, if you don't fight, you're not remembered. And people forget that Conor is like this amazing fighter that no one gives a lot of credit to. He's very underrated because he's not in front of the camera fighting all these top level people every other weekend. And the hype's not behind him anymore, but you have to remember, you're still a savage regardless if people remember you or not. They just get reminded in time.
Like you mentioned, you obviously think you're a bit better everywhere. So do you think this is a fight where you could get another stoppage win? Because that's kind of what you're known for, is getting people out, getting them out pretty early.
Absolutely. I can finish them on the ground. I can finish standing them. And that's what we're going to do. We're going for the finish. I'm going for the kill. I'm going to put all 28 months of just sheer pain and excitement and hurt and want and just loneliness, any type of feeling that I've had over that long duration since my injury is coming out in that fight. It's the first time I could come back to show myself, this is who I am, this is where I want to be. And that's what I bring every time.
Added bonus to have this on a pay-per-view card as well, just to get a bit more viewers on the card.
It's super dope. Like, in all honesty, it would be sick if they put me on the pay-per-view card. Like, starting off the pay-per-view card, why would you not want Maycee Barber versus Julian Marquez? You want that excitement. There's a lot of great fighters on that card, but, a lot of these people don't bring the type of, ferociousness and intensity that Maycee and I would bring for the stylistic matchup. There's great matchups on there. But even if we're on the undercard, it'd be even great.
Yeah, I think two spots that I think could be perfect for this fight is that opener of the main card or the fight right before the main card, because to me, I think this fight's ending in a stoppage. So you either get fans all hyped for the pay-per-view card with the stoppage win, or you get everyone all excited for the rest of the fights, and the title fights coming with a big stoppage win to start the card.
Yeah, I know for sure. Put me at the beginning. I'll set the pace for the entire card. Put me in the middle. I'll show everybody why they need to keep tuning in, and put me at the beginning to highlight what's going to happen to the main event. Is someone's going to sleep in that fight. I don't care what anyone says. This is Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns, the rivalry of two brothers that built each other. Like, let's go.
Everyone kind of talks about ring rust. Some people say it's not a real thing. Some people think it is. What's your take on this? Because obviously you haven't fought in a while.
I mean, ring rust is a mentality. The thing is that I've been fighting every single day all the way up since I was a little kid, even more so since my injury. So getting in there, what is ring rust? Excitement, just being flat, being scared. I've been fighting for quite a while that it doesn't matter. We train for this type of situation.
What do you think a win over Maycee does for you and puts you in this division?
It just keeps me going forward. Maycee is a great fighter. He's really well known. He's a likable guy. Like, look, I like the guy. I hope to go grab some drinks, non-alcoholic beverages after the fight, regardless. And I love his coaches. I've trained with them all. This is the thing, is that you're not going to just come in there and think that you're going to survive your career by matching up with me. I'm not here to, save other people's career. I'm here to make statements. This is who I am. This is where I want to be. I said I was going to be a champion, so I'm coming here. I'm coming quick, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows that I'm here.
And is the goal this year to get as many fights as possible? Just to obviously you haven't fought in a while, just to get that momentum going, get like 3-4 fights in this year.
Absolutely. Look, this is the thing. Let's be smart. I'm here to get financially stable while making fights. I'm not going to take a ridiculous fight that's not going to pay the most money. Like, if they offered me to fight Israel Adesanya on my contract right now, tomorrow, it wouldn't be financially interested in me. Why would I make, a fraction of what the person I'm fighting is making? That's not that. I need to build my character. I need to build my person. I need to build my want. Thing is, the more people see you, the more people want you. The more people want you, the more people pay to watch you. When they pay to watch you, then you become a fan favorite. And then that's when your money becomes up. That's whenever these, fights like Conor McGregor, Khabib, Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, or people start calling you out left and right because they know you're the money fight. That's where we're going to get at. And that's what I want to do. So this year, yeah, I would love to say I want to fight 20 times. But to be honest, I've had a 10-month training camp that I've done nonstop with only one fight to show. Not saying I want to take a break, but I definitely want to see what they're going to offer me or what we can get next.
Someone I want to touch on is obviously James Krause. How important has he been to your career? Because he's, to me, is one of the best coaches in MMA, and he doesn't get talked enough as one of the top coaches.
This is the thing, a wise woman told me this a long time ago. And she said, numbers don't lie, but people or liars say a lot of numbers. And the thing is, you got all these top level coaches that have all these, we have UFC fighters. Yes. But the odds of them staying in the UFC and doing something great or, are low. But if you look at James Krause has taken so many UFC fighters and elevated their, platform once they join his team, once they go to his gym in Lee Summit, Missouri. Look at Gina Mazzani. Gina Mazzani wasn't doing too well in the UFC. She left. She leaves, Vegas, comes to Kansas City, and just has a dominating performance against Rachel Ostovich. Same thing as Tim Elliott. Let's look at him. Tim Elliott was having a rough edge in his career. He was living in Vegas, doing all this stuff. He made the move over here, and he took a tough fight and had a tough win against Ryan Benoit, right after he was on a skid of, if he lost that fight, he probably would have been cut. Same thing as you look at Kevin Kroom, took a 24-hour notice fight, came in and took a tough opponent, Roosevelt Roberts, and finished him in front of Dana in under a minute. Come on. Same thing as look at your guy Jason Witt. Jason Witt took a 24-hour notice fight. Same thing, didn't go well for him. He comes back and has a performance that no one would ever expect. A dominating performance, a bloodbath from top to bottom. You got Jeff Molina, who just had this impressive domination on the Contender Series getting signed. You have Grant Dawson, who is literally the toughest 155 pounder on the planet, and no one knows that name. And it's all because James has literally put time and invested hours into everyone. Look at Derek Minner. Derek Minner has fought to try to get in the UFC for X amount of time, finally gets in the UFC and finishes a kid that no one thought he was. He was like a plus 400 underdog, which was amazing to bet on. And it's because James Krause is a mastermind when it comes to understanding the flaws in other people to be able to become dominant yourself. He is amazing, and his numbers don't lie. Look at his numbers, look at his stats, look at his fighters that are under him, and look at the victories that they have. It is a really high percentage.
And the thing with James's gym too, it's I like it. Same with like Fortis MMA is you can look at the ATTs and the AKAs and all that, and everyone be like, oh, well, they have like 40 UFC fighters. But year over year, they always have that. Like your gym and Fortis's, it's like they went from 0 and now they're into double-digit UFC fighters.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the thing is that, in time, Glory could blow up to become the ATT, but I don't think Krause wants that. There's not enough coaches and there's not enough James Krauses that he can sit there and invest his time into it. Thing is that, look, I fight professionally in the UFC. Tim, Gina, Kevin, Jason, Derek, Grant. And you look at them, they're getting the same training. Megan Anderson, sorry about her too. You're getting the same training at that level as an amateur that has 3 fights, 4 fights amateur, and you're getting the same training and the same treatment as, the highest level in the UFC. It's because he cares. He actually wants you to win. And that's one thing is like, I really wish the UFC would, kind of start pushing towards him, or the people that give awards, like, don't give him honorable mention, give him the actual award of like, yo, this dude is making something happen in the middle of nowhere where no one around has as many UFC fighters. No one around is even known. Like, we're in freaking Missouri. Think of that. Tell me a place in the United States that's supposed to have an MMA gym that's supposed to be successful. California? Florida?
Warm weather where everyone wants to be.
You know what I mean? Like, we're naming all these highly populated places, and they all have, 10 plus UFC fighters. Well, you go in the middle of Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and there's 10 fighters in the UFC in just one gym that you don't even know about? Come on. Like, there's something in the water out here, or it's just James Krause.
One person I wanted to ask you, on no worries you don't want to ask him, but obviously Joaquin Buckley, he's a guy that a lot of you guys at the gym, there's this kind of that rivalry. Do you think that's a fight that is going to happen, or after that loss, do you think that's kind of, you guys are going to move past that?
I have no friggin' clue. Look, in all honesty, I put out a tweet and I was like, oh, dude, I like his style. I like that. That means that's called an exciting fight. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, yeah, dude, I would love to take this fight. I put out a tweet, and then boom, all this stuff happens. I'm like, oh, here we go. James goes, you don't understand. He's like, you're not taking the fight. I was like, why? He goes, that's my fight. And then I found out that that's real. What they have a history. You got to understand. I've been out of Glory. Like, I moved away. I've been with James Krause when I started my career. I left 5 to 6 years ago, moved to Syndicate, trained out there, did everything there, jumped around Syndicate, 10th Planet, Extreme Couture, worked out there. And then I finally came back. So during that time, there's a lot of stuff that they have beef over that I didn't even know about. Mine was just like, oh, dude, that's a fun fight. Then I found out this is like a hatred like Diaz and Connor, that Leon Edwards and Jorge Masvidal, or, Kofi Covington and Jorge Masvidal. And the thing is that I can't step across that. Like, Nate Diaz isn't going to send one of his students to go fight his battle. If Joaquin called him out, Joaquin said this stuff, he wants to do this stuff, that's between them two. Once they settle their stuff, then maybe I can have my opportunity to fight that style. But that's not – you have to go through James first. James never once turned that thing down, and it's just – right now I don't know if it's going to ever happen from that was a nasty head kick, and that was a pretty nasty sleep from Alessio, which is insane. That kid doesn't really knock anyone out and doesn't really go after people like that. So it's intense, but yeah, I have no beef with him. If he wants to create beef, cool, but he still has to go through James Krause first.
And just last thing I have to ask about is your podcast with Kendra Lust. How did that all get started together? Just you and her hooking up together within this podcast.
Man, you could just say I'm a lucky guy and I just have the right connections and was at the right place in the right time. We just finished recording an episode.
Yeah.
She's awesome. And it's just a different perspective. She's an adult film star. I'm a UFC fighter. We both technically are the same exact contract out. She works for a company and she only gets paid when she performs. I work for a company. I only get paid from when I perform. If I do good at my job, I do good in life. If she does good at the job, she does good in life. So it's we have a lot of similarities in there, and it's been awesome. And like we just dive deep into just topics and sex, relationships, and DM slides. It's a fun podcast.
And do you kind of think it's kind of that perfect match? I'm surprised no one's done it before. It's kind of that same fan base that's watching her and then watching fights.
Oh, absolutely. Like our fans definitely bounce back and forth. They love that Kendra talks about fights. They love that, she has someone on there that gives their input. They're like, oh, this guy knows what it is. But then they start realizing like, oh, she knows what the hell she's talking about too. But then also too, there's a lot of, these like people that like fighting that need a little bit of relationship advice or need a little bit of, sexual advice or guidance. And that's where she jumps in. She's like, hey, we just got done talking about the GM Met that what's his name? Jared Potter.
Yeah.
Sending out these like unsolicited DMs and instant messages with his like dick pics and stuff like that. So we kind of like brushed up on that and talked about like, chill out, guys. You never send 62 unanswered messages in a row. Like it's pretty yikes.
Well, just before you wrap up, just a plug where everyone can listen to that podcast.
We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. We even have our Instagram. It's Beauty and the Beast Podcast. You can also, if you get on my Instagram, J Marquez MMA or Kendra Lust, you go there and just click the links. They'll send you right to where you want to go. You can listen to the podcast. You can tune in, get some advice, get some sweet one-liners to slide in those DMs, holler at those women, or just have a nice little trick to do a nice little nightcap. So,
all right. Well, Julian, thank you so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. You have a good one. All right.
All right. We're joined by UFC flyweight Gillian Robertson, who's returning again pretty soon. Gillian, how's it going?
I'm super excited to have a matchup so close to my last one, be able to get back in there, back in the win column.
Yeah, that's what I want to touch on. Obviously, last one didn't go your way. After that loss, is it basically get me back in there as soon as I can to get the bad taste out of your mouth?
I win or lose, that's the game plan. I'm trying to get back in there as soon as possible. So to be able to have such a quick turnaround, I'm happy with that. I'm blessed with that.
And Miranda Maverick, was this someone you thought you'd be fighting? I thought they'd try to keep you two apart just because you guys are two of the up-and-coming prospects in this division.
I actually, for some reason, I had whenever Andrea Lee dropped out on that 1 week notice, I was thinking Miranda Maverick. I was looking at all the names, like thinking about, they were like, oh, we have someone in mind for you. So I was looking at all the names, seeing who they might have thought. And she was one of the people who's an up-and-comer, was ready to fight. And she's a gamer, so I knew that she'd be down. So I kind of expected it back then. So to have it now is, I guess, kind of a coincidence.
And she's someone that won the Invicta, that one-night tournament. Impressive UFC debut. What did you make of her last fight in the UFC?
I definitely feel like it was an impressive debut. I don't necessarily feel like her opponent's on the same level as I am. So this will be a new welcoming for her into the 25 division.
Is it kind of hard to watch tape on her, or just to start, because that one-night tournament, that was all one-round fights. Her last fight was 1 round. I don't even think that cut really should have stopped the fight. So you haven't really seen her. She does have that one win where she made a Deanna Bet in the 3rd round, but a lot of her fights are ending early or the 1 round because of that Invicta one-night tournament.
I honestly, I don't study my opponents a lot in general. That's all down to my head coach, Dean Thomas. He'll go through the fights and break them down and determine what we need to work on, what we need to be looking for. But I don't like to get myself too into watching the fights. I feel like then when you come into the fight, you end up waiting for moments. So you're sitting there and I'm waiting for her to do this or I'm waiting for her to do that instead of just going in there and implementing my game plan to the fullest and just imposing my will on her.
In your last fight, what do you take away from that? Because obviously you're supposed to fight Andrea Lee at 256. She pulls out, and then you get pushed back weight to fight a totally really different style in Talia Santos. What do you take away from that fight?
I guess it is what it is. I went out there, I fought to the best of my ability, and I just wasn't enough that night. So we're going back, we're correcting everything, and we're just trying to make me into the best mixed martial artist I can. And the best way to test where I'm at in that is to keep competing, keep fighting. So that just shows where I'm at right now, and where I need to look forward to, and where I need to be.
And then you had the grappling match 11 days after that fight. Did Dean Thomas or anyone say hey, maybe let's take a bit of a rest? You don't need to be doing that.
Dean's definitely not the one to say we're taking a rest at all. He was I still had stitches I had 9 stitches in my nose after I fought Talia, and I had to keep them in for 10 days. The grappling match was 11 days after the fight. So I took those stitches out 10 days after, and then the doctor was actually like, I want you to wait 21 days before you start any live training. And I was like, it's one round, one grappling match, 5 minutes. It shouldn't be too bad. So I just decided to do it when flew out to Portland, and I think it was the first 30 seconds of the match, my nose opened back up. I was like, maybe the doctor was right. Maybe I should have listened to him. So yeah, it definitely made my scar a little bit bigger, but it's the fight life. You gotta know what you're getting into with this.
And then with this fight, obviously Miranda Maverick, a really good grappler just like yourself, but she has really solid striking. Do you think she's gonna want to keep it standing and not want to go down to the ground with you?
I've had a couple of people ask me that. I feel like it plays out either one of 2 ways. It's either 100% where it's two great grapplers are going to just keep it on the feet, or that we're going to be on the ground the whole time. So I feel like it'll be either one of 2 extremes the way the fight goes.
You often see a lot of times with grapplers, they just fall in love with your hands. That's something you and T. Thomas have really realized, we just can't fall in love with their hands. Let's just get it down to where we're good at. Because you see every grappler, Ronda Rousey, after she got that knockout, she then started falling in love with their stand-up. Is that something you realize, I just need to take it down where I'm best at, and no matter what, I just got to get down to the ground?
Well, we just recognize where I am best at. Obviously, it is in the jiu-jitsu. So I still am focused on my stand-up and making my stand-up better, but it's to capitalize on my jiu-jitsu. So it's we're using my strikes to set up my shots better and to get into my takedown. So we still are focusing on my striking, getting better every day, but obviously that's not our main finishing tool. We know where I'm good, and we know where I'm going to get my the fights to finish.
And Shorty Torres is a really good wrestler in himself. How important has he been just helping you with your wrestling and getting people to the ground?
He's amazing. Me, him, and Dean Thomas work every single day. We got a little family going on there, but he's my main drilling partner. We train twice a day, every day, and it's awesome to have somebody who's as motivated as you, which I feel like it's hard to find.
How do you see this fight playing out? Because you mentioned, it could be just all on the feet, could be all on the ground. Obviously, every fight you kind of predict that submission win.
Yeah, I was about to say it's pretty obvious where I'm going with this. I'm not one of the like you said, I'm not one of the grapplers who's got to prove my stand-up, who's got to prove that I'm a striker. I'm going to use that to get to my finish, and I'm trying to get in and out of there as quick as possible, so straight to the throat.
And Dean Thomas was obviously out in Abu Dhabi for 2 weeks and filming that show. So was it just basically you and Shorty Torres working together for a week?
We were kind of nomads. We trained at I think 3 or 4 different gyms during that time. So we trained out in Fusion in Orlando, at Busybody in Boca Raton, ATT Wolfpack in Sunrise, Gamblers Jiu-Jitsu West Palm. There's 4 or 5 different gyms where we were just going and getting our work where we can, getting different bodies and getting different looks, so that we'd be ready for anything.
Is that something you like doing, just going to different gyms and not being, because when you were at ATT, it was ATT only, you only could train at ATT, you couldn't really do any of this cross training?
Well, obviously, ATT, they have all the bodies there. So it's you don't need to really go anywhere else to get a different look, because I have 10 to 15 different girls or guys on the mat with me every single day. But when it comes to coaching, I feel like that's when it becomes a big thing, where Dean's not scared to say, I don't know this. Where we traveled up to Wonder Boy's gym because he's nobody's better at movement than Wonder Boy, so we're gonna go figure out how to do it. He's the best in the world to do it, so we're gonna look at how he does it, because obviously Dean knows that he knows better than he does. So I feel I love that open mindset, and it really it's gonna make me the best in the world one day.
Yeah, because I saw the UFC filmed that stuff. So what was it like going out to Wonder Boy's gym?
Oh, it was an awesome time out there. Like I said, the movement just so fast. Every single person in the gym has that karate style, that karate base, and it's just it's impossible to describe how fast their kicks are, how fast they move in and out, and are just getting into good positions to strike.
And so the UFC filmed that. I think Dean Thomas probably had what, like 10 hot dogs on that road trip.
Yeah, an uncomfortable amount of hot dogs. Just every single gas station. I wasn't having it. I think I was cutting weight at the time too. I was supposed to fight Andrea the next week, so I was cutting weight in just every single gas station. That's what he was going for. But he took me by Shaq's house after, so that was pretty dope. Got to choke him out, and that was like a once in a lifetime experience. And just to be surrounded by someone who is so great and so inspirational was amazing at the time.
Yeah, because I saw Shaq give you obviously some advice. So what was that like for you?
Obviously, he's one of the greatest hustlers in the world, you know, not even just like with sports, but just when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And he's just always on something else, always on the next deal. And I feel like that's what it's all about. Just keep on moving forward, keep on grinding. And those are the type of people you need to surround yourself with.
What is a road trip with Dean Thomas like? I feel like it could get annoying at some points.
A road trip with Dean Thomas is definitely long. I would say I'm more of a flyer. I don't want to be in the car that long, so it's just lots of naps for me.
Did you ever thought about, hey, maybe you just drive, I'll just fly out to Wonder Boys, I'll meet you there?
I tried to, but he had the UFC coming with him, and he was like, no, they want to get us together. They want to get like the coach-student aspect, so I was along for the ride.
And just last thing, you're someone that wants to be active, so everything goes your way here. Like, how quickly do you want to turn this thing around?
I'll be walking out the cage with the phone in my hand, waiting for Dana to call. So as soon as they give me that call, I'm ready to go.
Or just one more thing is, obviously, hoping for a ranked opponent with a win here. I think Miranda Maverick's on the UFC has a lot of hype behind. If you beat here, I think a ranked opponent has to be next.
I'm down for whatever the UFC has to offer me. I said it with my last fight with Talia. I'm like, if I can't beat her, then I don't deserve to have the belt. So I'm trying to beat every single girl in this division and prove that I deserve that. And that when my time comes, that I'm going to be a dominant champ.
All right, well, Gillian, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking.
I might actually pull over right here. I have hella good service.
Oh, yeah. All right. All right. We're joined by UFC welterweight Anthony Hernandez. Anthony, how's it going?
Good, but I'm a middleweight.
Or middleweight. Sorry. Redo that. Sorry. Okay. All right. We're joined by UFC middleweight Anthony Hernandez. Anthony, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Big fight against Rodolfo Vieira, undefeated guy, like one of the best grapplers. Was this someone you had your eye on, or was this kind of who the UFC offered you?
Just who they offered me. Like I said, I really don't give a fuck who I fight. I'll figure a way to beat them, and if not, we're gonna go to fucking war. But I feel like I'll beat anyone, and that's my mentality every time I go into the fight. But I do like this fight. This fight's a fucking great fight for me.
You were obviously supposed to fight on that January 16th card. You had to. It got delayed because of the COVID reasons. Is this kind of time frame you want, or were you hoping a bit sooner than this?
Honestly, I picked this day because I wasn't trying to celebrate Valentine's Day. So, yeah, I picked this.
You got out of it then.
I mean, my wife says I didn't, but I think I did.
And on a pay-per-view too, like a pretty good card. You have like Kamaru Usman, Gilbert Burns headlining. Yeah, like did that add to it being on a pay-per-view card?
No, yeah, that was like I didn't even know it was gonna be a pay-per-view card. It just kind of worked out in my favor. I believe everything happens for a reason, and if it like this is one of the first fights I don't have to travel hella far, so I'm really excited for that. It's gonna be normal time. I'm not gonna have jet lag, so I'm actually really stoked for this fight.
And obviously not having to go to Fight Island because you were supposed to go out there January 16th. How much better is that? Just not doing that quarantine, that travel, and all that kind of stuff.
I was looking forward to it, to be honest. I was like, fuck, it's damn near a month in Dubai. That's sick. Why not? But I was talking hella shit to my family, giving them hella shit, like fucking with them. And I guess it kind of worked out in their favor. I'm not going to be gone for hella long. And I'm excited.
And Rodolfo Vieira, his last fight, obviously he's 2-0 in the UFC, 2 submission wins, but his last fight, he did get hit a lot. And he had his eye was almost shut. The whole talk on the fight was if he didn't submit in the first round, it probably would have been stopped. Like, what do you take away from his last fight? Because obviously he showed off his grappling, but at the same time, like, he was there to be hit quite often.
No, yeah, that's yeah, he's not a striker. He's definitely a ground guy. And I plan on proving that, you know. I don't plan on getting taken down, and if I do, I'm gonna work back to my feet. I honestly didn't see that fight, but yeah, I know he's definitely hittable. He's very hittable. He's flat-footed. One of his more recent fights, he looked like he was moving on his toes better, so that's good for him. But yeah, his one goal is to get you to the floor, and as long as you defend that, you're pretty much safe.
You fought some high-level grapplers too. Like, you fought Marcus Perez, you fought Brendan Allen. Like, how much do you think that experience is going to help you in this fight?
I mean, a fight's a fight, man. I really don't know how to even answer that question. But I'm looking forward to this fight. I have great training partners for this fight that are high level and bigger guys, and I've been getting them off me. So I think I'll be able to throw a 185er off me.
How do you see this fight playing out? Because to a lot of people, it's basically this fight stays standing. Yeah, it's just you should be able to piece him up. If it's down to the ground, like, obviously that's his whole world. But is it basically just keep the fight standing and your fight to lose?
Like I said, I'm an MMA fighter. I know how to do this. Like, I know how to do everything. Obviously there's different levels of grappling, yes, but when you get hit, that shit changes. And as far as MMA, he's coming into my world. You know, I've been doing this shit for a very long time. I've been fighting MMA since I was like 15, doing smokers, and like I have a fuck ton of MMA fights. When I fight, I feel like a veteran. I don't get nervous no more. Like, it's just another fucking day in the office for me. For him, I'd imagine it's kind of sketchy because he only has one thing that he is very good at, and that's grappling. And no matter where the fight goes, I'm pretty fucking comfortable, to be honest.
And the thing with him and most grapplers are most like jiu-jitsu guys where he's coming over from jiu-jitsu, their takedowns aren't that good because they start their whole growing up is they're already on the ground. So do you think that's a big advantage where he has to try to get you down? His wrestling so far hasn't looked best. Like, it takes him a couple of tries to get people down.
Yeah, and you know, gi is different than like MMA. You're slippery. You're like, it changes the whole fucking game. And even in some of his fights, the guys get up pretty easy, but his pressure wears them out, and then they kind of concede and start playing jiu-jitsu. I'm in great fucking shape for this fight. If I hit the floor, I'm getting up there. I'm not chilling. I'm not playing jiu-jitsu. I'm not fucking trying to hang out there because he will submit you, and he's a decorated grappler, and you got to respect it no matter what.
Has there already been talk? Because I remember when I was talking to Max Griffin when he was fighting Ramiz, obviously he was such a good grappler, was if you rock him and drop him, like, is part of the game plan of just let him get back to the feet, don't fall him down to the ground?
I'm honestly pretty comfortable everywhere. Like I said, it depends, you know. Would I let him up? It depends how hurt he is. If he's fucked up, I'm gonna go for the kill. If he's still what is it? I don't know the word for it. If he's still like reaching for shit and like aware, then maybe I'll stay up. I don't know. We'll see. It's a fight. You don't really know. I'm gonna listen to my coaches, and whatever they believe I should do, I'll do.
Who are the main people you're working with for this fight?
One of so Elliot Kelly's been helping me out a lot. Jim West and then Mike Guy, and then Kelly Anunson. He's been a fucking great asset as one of my sparring partners. And then yeah, it's pretty much. And then I got like some younger kids. Shaler, he's a little young up and comer. It's Aspen's little big brother. That motherfucker's like 230. But he's been a pain in the ass because that motherfucker's heavy as shit, and he just keeps coming. So it's been great to work with him too. And he's actually gonna make his amateur debut soon. So hopefully I can make that in Utah.
And something that Vieira hasn't done is he hasn't done the no crowd ever. And you've done it on the Contender Series. Do you think that's a bit of an advantage if you know what it's like fighting in front of no one?
I don't know. A fight's a fight. Like I said, a fucking street fight, a cage fight, it doesn't fucking matter. A fight's a fight to me. I don't really like. I'm not doing it for the fans. This is for me. Like, this shit is my pride. This is what I do. I fight for a living, and if there's crowds, dope. If there's not, I don't give a fuck. Like, most people are dickheads anyway, so fuck them.
Do you pay attention to like betting odds or anything like that?
I don't even know how that shit works, and I really don't give a fuck, to be honest, because those odds are not gonna save you in a real fucking fist fight.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Is because obviously you're a big underdog in this one just because of his grappling, but because like right now you're like plus 325. So if one of your friends or family put $100, you win. They win 325 plus their 100 back. So like they win a good size of money if you're gonna get friends and family to bet on you.
Dope. That's fucking cool for them.
Entering this fight, obviously coming off the loss to Kevin Holland, like what do you take away from that? Just because it happened so quick, that fight.
Look, man, a fight's a fight. Like I always say, shit happens. I can't fucking dwell on it. There was like, I don't know. I was just going through some shit, and I'm finally clear-headed. I'm finally like just focusing on what I want in life, and I've been fucking training for this moment since I was like 15 years fucking old, and there's no way in hell I'm just gonna let that shit slip through my fingers. I'm gonna go out there, fight my fucking ass off, and if he wants that win, he's gonna have to take it from me.
Do you have a bit of pressure on yourself under this one, just coming off loss? You've never lost 2 in a row in your career.
Nah, I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. Like I said, each fight is a new fight. Shit happens, you know. In life, sometimes you get knocked down, and you can either quit or keep fucking going. And I ain't no little bitch. I'm gonna keep coming, and I'm gonna get my goals.
What do you think a win over Rodolfo does for you? Because he's a guy that has a lot of hype behind him, an undefeated guy. Like a win here, I think would be big for you.
It puts me back in the spotlight, and it puts me right back where I want to be. You know, I do need this win, and I plan on getting it. Yeah, it's simple as that.
Was last year a bit disappointing for you? Just that one fight, obviously. I know you like being active, and then just having to sit on that loss for almost like 9 months now.
I don't even know. I wasn't counting. I've just been training this whole fucking time. I lost, got in the gym, and just kept training. So like, I don't know. Like I said, I live this shit. This shit is my life. I'm not gonna sit around and just be like, oh fuck, I lost. I'm a little bitch. No, it's all right. Shit happens. Get back in the fucking gym. Keep training. I was overworking myself way too fucking much for the Kevin Holland fight. I had a bunch of shit going on, personal shit, family shit, and yeah, just like I was fucking. I felt like I had cement shoes on in the fight. I'm not taking anything away from Kevin. He hit me with a good elbow, got me square, landed a clean knee. That's high level shit. Great setup by him. He caught me. It is what it is. It's a fight, you know. I mean, if you're not on point at the highest level, it's going to be shown. And that night I was not on point. He beat me. Okay, cool. He's going on a fight. He's been on like a 5 or 6 win streak.
Yeah.
That's fucking fantastic for him. I hope to see him fight for a title. No bad blood. It's a job. We both showed up, and he was the better man that night.
You've touched on it a bit. I just want to kind of ask you about it a bit more. Is you talked about the mental side of how big is it now? Where you're obviously, it seems like your mental side, you're now just focused. You had a lot of stuff going on, like because obviously the mental side's a big part of fighting as well.
No, for sure. Yeah, like I said, I had a lot of shit, personal shit going on, and yeah, it was just like I'm not gonna mention it, but I had a lot of shit going on, and I was doing way too much. I was going to the gym, coming home, working on my property, and then I would go to the gym, then come back and work on my property. I was just doing way too much, trying to bite off way more than I could chew, when I should have just settled back and focused on my career. And after that fight, I sat down, talked to my wife, and then I just had to figure out what the fuck I really wanted in life, you know. And I've been training for this shit since I was 15. It's all in, and she kind of got off my back a little bit about shit, and we decided that everything will happen in the right way, like at the right time. So now she's off my ass, and it's back to full training, and I had to refocus real quick, and I think you guys are gonna see a new me, basically, back to being hungry, vicious, coming for the kill, and yeah.
Just last thing, everything goes your way there on 258. Like, how quickly do you want to surround? Because I imagine you want to get more than just one fight in this year.
I want to. My goal is stay healthy, of course, because I keep fucking shit up. Like the Kevin Holland fight, my dumbass didn't finish recovering my hand, and I knew that I couldn't throw my right hand really. So my game plan was to wrestle, and he caught me with a knee. So I was like, all right, it's time to go back to fucking rehab, finish my healing, and just make sure that I'm 100% confident in all my tools and all my tools work. And yeah, that's pretty much where we're at now.
All right, well, Anthony, thank you so much for time, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. And before I go, I just want to give a quick shout out to Osaka and Woodland. If you guys are around Main Street, I recommend you guys check them out. And then if you guys like skateboarding and shit like that, Sword Board Shop, they've been helping me out a lot for this fight camp, and I really appreciate it. Humble Root, thank you guys for everything you've done for this fight camp, and I look forward to working with you guys more. Max Payne Griffin, his CBD gummies, fucking amazing. They help me get to sleep, especially because I can't smoke now. And you get recovery, deep sleep. There's a bunch of fucking good effects from it. I don't know the whole science, but if you really want to know about it, you should go check out Max Payne CBD. Ultimate Fitness Foods, the only reason I'm gonna make weight so easy is because of them, so thank you to them. And then my homies Migos, all the fucking jackasses that let me tattoo them and shit, they're my boys. They sponsored me for this fight too. My Hernandez cousins, thank you guys. Tharp family, my little goddaughter and them, they all put money in to help me for my fight, so thank you guys. I appreciate you. Get me goings. It's in the name. They keep me going. They're the best like massage place out there. That shit hurts, but after you feel fucking fantastic. And that's about it. Thank you guys.